Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri, and we're going to recap Week 16 versus the Commanders, a 29-18, which should have been a hell of a lot more, and we're going to get into it a little bit. Away game at FedEx Field. Okay, first of all, Dan, the Eagles are 10-5. They officially won the NFC East. How excited are you about that?
Ooh. Not very excited. I mean, it is pretty cool to be the first team in 20 years to actually repeat, but looking at the state of our division right now, it's kind of like, nah.
It's
Especially
like
we all have higher goals.
It's like, yeah, they got it, but our division really sucks. So we should have had it
Pretty
about
much.
3 weeks ago until they had their losing streak happening. The last time the repeat happened, you know who the team was that repeated for a couple of years?
I
Yes,
can't
that's
remember.
right.
Was it this team from Philadelphia? I can't pronounce it, but Philadelphia maybe?
Yeah. And do you remember who the QB was at that time?
Oh, McNabb.
Well, Dan, before we get into things, let's actually recap what the quarter points were. The Eagles 7, the Commanders 3. The second quarter, the Commanders got another 7. The Eagles in the third quarter 7. And then in the fourth quarter is really when the Eagles started to dominate things a little bit more with a 15 points and the Commanders 8, ending in a 29-18. Now, Dan, the stats really kind of lie a little bit because it really should have been a hell of a lot more. And the opening kickoff was completely horrible for the Eagles. But the passing yards and the rushing yards, passing 178, rushing 207 for a total of 385. And yes, Saquon got over another 100-yard game. Dan, I want your initial reaction on what you thought about the opening kickoff and Will Shipley.
It couldn't have started any worse. Let's just put it out there. Shipley's had some good moments, but I haven't seen him become a dynamic kickoff returner, to be honest with you. I think overall Shipley just had a horrible game, whether it be returning that kick that was basically 1 yard deep in the end zone. He didn't, he kind of got lost out there, and fumbling the opening kickoff. Divisional game, I mean, really any game, but a divisional game, you really can't afford to make those kinds of mistakes. But thankfully, our defense is pretty good and, held them back. But you can't make errors like that. You're going to be in the playoffs soon. Those things, especially starting a game, you just gave up a possession basically because you get the ball first and you're not getting the ball coming out of halftime. So your possessions are going to be limited, and you just got to be able to capitalize. If you're going to be a better team, if you're going to be a playoff team, got to be able to take advantage of those situations. And Shipley he had a rough day. I mean, he hasn't shown that he's going to have these type of days in the past, so I can't get too down on him, but he's got to do better. I want to see more of a dynamic kickoff returner back there. I know they have Covey back there too, but I mean, Covey to me is a little bit small to be returning kickoffs. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands, but I like him more for punts than I do kickoffs. But I don't know if they have any alternatives at this point, to be honest with you.
I think his indecisive at the goal line for him to decide like what he's going to do and not realize where his positioning was really killed that. It's kind of the start of it. Didn't kind of kill the drive, but really put them in a tough spot because he was like, well, what's going on? And those things can't happen because every second counts, which didn't give them excellent field position in that drive. But I agree with you. I'm not sure Covey is the guy for, kickoffs. One of the biggest things, and he is a smaller guy, but you know what? It seems like they avoid Covey, and most of the time they're going towards even Will Shipley.
No, I completely agree with that. It's kind of weird. If I were them, I'd be kicking more to Shipley or Covey, but I think it's because maybe a little bit, right-footed kickers kick off to the left more. When you're looking down the field to the left, I think because you watch the games and primarily that's where they go. But, their special teams, other than let's avoid the whole field goal situation until further notice, but their kickoff return really isn't anything dynamic. We really haven't seen anything where we can say, okay, we started out on really great field position. It's kind of just mediocre. So, like to see us become more dynamic, no pun intended, with the dynamic kickoff, but I don't know who they have better, to be honest with you.
I don't think they have anybody better for it. Dan, quick recap on our predictions. I predicted 35-17, and you predicted 28-14. I think yours is closer. We will give you the gold star.
We are pretty damn close.
Golf clap.
Golf clap.
Yep. A pat on the back for it. Dan, how awesome is it that another year that Dallas goes home early?
Amazing. The cycle has completed. We have the whole off season. We're going to be great. Then we have the season starting, and they're like, oh well, Dak is looking great. We're fantastic. And then you got the whole kind of October, maybe November vibe of, oh, we dem boys, we're coming. The Cowboys, we dem boys, bring it back. And then you get into December, and it's like, we dem boys again. And then they're kicked out. At least this time, usually the cycle ends at the first round of the playoffs, but we don't have to subject our eyes to watching that crap storm. So go home, and, Jerry will still write your checks, and you'll still be an embarrassment to this league. So enjoy.
Did you see when Jerry got the news that the Cowboys were out of it? It's like he got up and he's like, I'm done with this team. And he walked out. He's like, I got to go to the bathroom.
I don't know how many years of this I have left.
And then the other thing is that we don't have to endure is Chris Collinsworth glazing over him or Mahomes, even though that the Chiefs are going to play on Christmas. So I'm sure Collinsworth is going to be there commentating on, oh, wait, Mahomes isn't there. Just kidding. Yes, we don't have to worry about it at all.
Tell me, what a crappy slate of games on Christmas.
Yep.
I mean, that's
Does
like
any
some
of them
Grinch
matter
stuff on Christmas.
Does any of them matter to any of the teams?
I guess it looked okay when the schedule was coming out. I mean, you see the Chiefs, you see Dallas, think of playoff positioning, fighting for position. But, I mean, now that the season's unfolded, it's one of those where I'll watch it just because it's football, but at the same time, I'm hoping that by that time I'm in a food coma. So
the games that are happening on Christmas is Dallas against the Commanders, 1:00. Yeah, we can all sleep during that time. Yeah, that one's going to be totally boring for it. The Lions against the Vikings, that will be an interesting game. There's some potential there for some moving around in the NFC. And then the Denver Broncos against the Chiefs. While the Chiefs are out of it, they could potentially do a spoiler to the Broncos. So we'll see about that because the Broncos right now are playing really good and they're, locked in for. Well, are they locked in for number one?
No, they're not locked in.
Yeah, because the AFC is so wide open. In fact, 6 teams can actually win number one seed, while the NFC is even a little more spread out.
Well, the crazy thing with those Christmas games is that you got Minnesota, who very likely will be on their third string quarterback because J.J. McCarthy got injured again. Carson Wentz is out. And then you got the night game with the Chiefs where Mahomes is down. Gardner Minshew went out. And they're starting their third string quarterback, who I don't even know who the hell he is. So, I mean, it
could be lopsided games out there. Right there. In fact, what else is on? Maybe we could watch A Christmas Story.
Yeah. Well, what's the over/under on watching the disappointment on Taylor Swift's face? That's what I want to go with.
She ain't showing up there. She's already disappointed. Come on now. She got better things to do.
Yeah. Count her money.
Exactly. All right, Dan, let's talk a little bit about the offense. Okay, we saw Hurts very accurate in the last few games, to be honest with you, since Nick has had a hand in the play calling. Now, has that been one of the factors that he's been doing really well? You know what? I think it's taken a lot of heat off of Kevin Patula and us not liking how he's doing as an offensive coordinator, but kind of taking the look away from him. Like, don't worry, Jerry. Don't worry, Howie. He's fine. He's fine. We got this. And, we're going to keep him around another year, which is going to be a little concerning to us Eagles fans as we go into the postseason. But Hurts did 22 of 30, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. What are your thoughts?
I mean, just like you said, very accurate. He was decisive with the ball. He made some good tight window throws. There's really nothing to complain about with him in this game. I mean, he had that 5 turnover game 2 weeks ago, and everybody was, oh my God, we're going to bench Hurts. Hurts is garbage, the Super Bowl MVP is complete trash, blah, 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 blah. And he just comes out and he wins last week, he wins this week, and both games very efficient. And that's what we need out of him. We don't need a 300-yard passer, We know that he can do it, okay? Let's throw that whole crap about we can't win if we're a 40 pass attempt type of team, because I think that's BS. I really do feel that we can win that way if we had to. Can we win that sustained down the road? I don't know. But I think that we can win that way because I do believe that Hurts is a good quarterback. Is he elite? Is he a top 5 quarterback? I don't know. Maybe not. But I don't care because the fact is that we don't need that type of guy. We need a Drake May type of guy who's having an MVP season. But are they out there asking Drake May to throw for 500 yards a game? No, they're asking him to be I hate the term, but they're asking him to be a game manager who makes elite plays when they need to be made. And that's exactly what Hurts is doing. He's making the plays when they need to be made. I mean, the pass to Goddard on the scramble was unbelievable. It was a great pass for a touchdown. He had some, great throws to A.J. Brown, who finally, he's finally shut his mouth. Devontae Smith, he's getting involved in the offense. So I think it was good to see. They ran some nuances that I really liked with him, throwing the ball. They ran a lot of shotgun, no back, five wide out. I mean, the running back was one of the wide outs, but 5 wide out across. So he has that option to either throw the ball or he just, can take off. But I liked what they did there because they had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in the slot. So you got your 2 best guys on typically smaller corners or less athletic corners, or in this case they were playing zone, so they were able to attack the middle of the field a little bit better. So I think you're seeing the evolution of play calling. They weren't behind center as much this game, which is fine because I still think that they're feeling things out, which if you're winning is okay, but if you're losing, it's not. But they're winning convincingly now, and I think that's a step in the right direction.
Dan, are they winning convincingly only because they're playing quote-unquote bad teams? And I saw a lot of comments, oh, you're playing the Raiders, oh, you're playing the Commanders, or this, and this. But they are NFL teams. It is hard to win in the NFL. Hurts is playing top-notch in the last couple of games after his 5 interceptions that happened. One of my things that I look at with Hurts and how he's doing, it feels like he's pulled a complete 180 on his throws, his decisions, and everything that's actually happening. Is that a combination of, Nick Sirianni stepping in with Kevin Patula doing play calling, or catering to Jalen's strengths and giving him that RPO option of actually running the ball whenever he wants? Because we've seen Hurts run more in the last 2 games than we've probably seen all year.
Absolutely agree, and that good point. He's been running the ball a lot more. I mean, not a lot more. Okay, but he's been running the ball
efficiently and effectively because
exactly
we've seen him run and he gets stuff there at the line. His decisions on what's happening with him running now have been phenomenal because he's getting like 10, 15 yards.
Yeah, and what you're seeing is that they're crashing down and he's reading it and he's going out to the edge. And that's what we need. Our offense is going to function a lot better with Hurts running the ball. It's just, that's the way it is. It's a dynamic part of his game, and it opens things up in the middle of the field. It opens things up in the running game. I mean, everything can be predicated off the fact that you have a mobile quarterback. That's what we see all the time in Baltimore. They have a mobile quarterback, so there's always that threat that he pulls the ball and goes around the edge. You have that in Josh Allen a lot. I mean, Josh Allen is throwing for like 120 yards a game, but because of the threat of him running and because they have an elite running game, they're not asking him to do much. You don't hear people out there bitching that Josh Allen, oh, well, he only put up 130 yards passing. They suck. He sucks. Blah, 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 blah. No, because he's winning and because he's effective doing what's asked of him. And that's what the Eagles have gotten back to, is a better running game, whether it be out of single back, whether it be out of the shotgun. Finally, I think for the last 2 weeks, I haven't seen a goddamn pistol formation, which is fantastic because everything sucked out of that goddamn formation. So you throw that in the trash. But I think it's a mixture of things, and it is hard to gauge. I mean, you're playing against Washington, you're playing against the Raiders, who don't have a great defense, but a lot of times what you see in the NFL is that teams play subpar defenses, and then they get right. And then they play the higher echelon defenses, and they're good. So I think that could springboard them. And the problem is that you're going to play Buffalo in Buffalo. Buffalo doesn't have that great of a defense. They just don't. It's a middle-of-the-pack defense. So in typical Philadelphia fashion, even if the Eagles beat the Bills and they score 30 points, it's going to be like, oh, well, they only played the Bills' defense. So they can't win. You can't win.
Dan, I loved how Hurts shared the ball and spread it out. AJ Smith, Dotson, Goddard, all in there. Was trying to get Saquon as well into the passing thing. He completely spread it out. He did not force feed AJ. And Dan, I'm sure you saw the same stat that I did that they put out onto the broadcast, which I thought was very interesting. The Eagles are I'm just going to throw out there 2-7 when AJ gets over 100 yards or something like that. And they're like 7-2 when AJ gets less than 100 yards. It is a very accurate stat. And the reason is, and I'm not huge on stats, but it kind of puts things in perspective, is that AJ Brown, when he's force-fed the ball, the game doesn't go right. But when it's just a natural progression and handed off to him, and I think AJ has stepped up his thing, and we've been talking about it all year, where he has been kind of lax on his work ethic and kind of letting off on his drive. He has been definitely dominant on the field after catching the ball, all the yards that he is getting, and really driving it down the field.
Yeah, the effort is finally there. We've criticized him. Everybody's criticized him. Maybe not the national media for some ungodly reason, but everybody's criticized him for the fact that he looked like he was giving up on plays, just not running routes crisp. And he seems like he's back into the AJ that we thought he would be. And you're right. I thought a few times maybe they were trying to force feed him the ball, but it worked because the slant was open. But again, they're not predicating their offense to tailor to one whiny person. And there were times in there that we both said, wow, they're really trying to force feed him the ball, and it is just not going well because they're just rolling coverages, and it just, during that 3-game losing streak, I mean, you saw AJ's getting his stats. He's not crying, but we didn't do anything. I mean, AJ getting those 100 yards is great if you're spreading the ball around and you're not saying, okay, AJ, you need 15 to 20 targets this game just because we want to shut you up. And ever since you've seen Nick take over, I mean, it could be a combination of a lot of things, to be honest with you, but we'll coincidentally say that it was Nick taking over and helping out more, that we've seen an offensive philosophy shift in that we're trying new things, and we're also going back to some of the things that were effective last year. We're under center more, but when we're not under center, we are going back to the RPO game, which is pretty much, other than a dominant run game, but it was pretty much the reason why we were so successful and why our running game was so successful is because everything is predicated on that defensive end crashing down or being afraid to crash down. And there's cutback lanes all over the place. And you finally saw Saquon hit some of those and be able to make things happen.
Dan, speaking of the running game, one of the best things that happened during this game, first of all, Saquon Barkley going over 100 yards. He was 21 for 132, and he crushed 1,000 yards for this season. Now, while it wasn't a repeat of last year's season of over 2,000, and that's very hard to do repeat year after year. He got 1,000 yards. He's not out there complaining. He's not out there bitching that he's not getting it. In fact, I think he would have a lot more yards if our offensive line, and we'll call out a couple of names. Dickerson is one of them. Jurgens, even Mailata's having a rough year. Dickerson, I watched him, and I texted you right after. I was like, what the hell was up with Dickerson? He literally just missed it, and he's watching the guy go around. He stopped. He gave up instead of coming back and giving Hurts a chance.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because you're seeing these you're seeing these run concepts, and they were so successful last year with these run concepts of, bringing the athletic guys on the line around, pulling them, or, just even one-on-one blocks. And you're seeing all-pro guys out there just getting beat. Dickerson is having a bad year.
Yep.
And I'm not going to excuse him. I'm not going to excuse him for being injured or saying he's not 100%. I believe he's not 100%. But nobody's 100% at this stage of the year. And we've seen this all year with him. He's just
inconsistent
so much.
Inconsistent on it. And in fact, he'll make like one solid play or two solid plays out of it, and that gives Hurts a chance. I think there's a time that you as a player have to realize that you are missing block after block on a number of instances, and you just have to either step up or tell the coach, listen, I'm not at 100%. And nobody is this late into the season. He's like, I can't get those. Can you help or double team? Now, obviously, Cam Jurgens is there to do it. But, yeah, I think they would have a lot more running and yards for not only Saquon. Even Tank was awesome in this game, too, because you saw him just pound straight through.
Yeah, and the stats last year were absolutely crazy when the Eagles ran the ball to the left side, which is Dickerson and Mailata. They were absolutely crazy, in which it was like, I think, 2 yards more before contact that Saquon was getting when he runs to the left as opposed to the right. And it's a crazy stat because you think, they had Becton on the right side, they had Lane Johnson on the right side, but they favored the left because of Dickerson and because of Mailata was just mauling people. But that's not the case anymore. You're not seeing that at all. Mailata is just, he's whiffing on a lot of blocks. And Dickerson is just, like you said, he's inconsistent. I don't understand what I'm seeing because he's just letting guys go past him, whether it be the bull rush, whether it be the speed rush. It's not the Dickerson that we've seen throughout his career. And I only hope that this is an outlier year. And I don't know. I don't know how you fix it because, like you said, when you understand that you're hurting the team or not 100%, you should come in and say, hey, I'm not feeling well. I need to sit. As a man, you're probably not going to do that. But when you're Jeff Stoutland, when you're Kevin Patullo and you're watching this film and you're seeing him get beat and you know that he's an all-pro guy, you have to question what's going on because it's not like this is a scrub that is still getting beat. This is a guy who was arguably the best guard in the NFL last year and probably previous year. So the regression is crazy to think about, and it's their job to figure this out. And I don't know how you fix it because these are one-on-one blocks. You really can't disguise a one-on-one block. So how do you fix it? We say, as fans, we've said it a million times. Okay, have Saquon go around the edge, away from the blockers. But the fact is that when he's getting to the edge, Mailata's missing blocks, okay? And Goddard, I saw him whiff on at least 2 blocks on the outside. So where do you run? Do you go outside and risk that? Or do you run inside where I can't? The offensive line has been terrible. But at the same time, I can't count the amount of times that Saquon was given the ball and he's just is dancing a little bit too much back there. He's not going straight downhill where he could just lower his head and get the 2 to 3 yards. He's looking for the home run. And as a result, he's getting tackled at the line, getting tackled for a 1-yard loss. So
I only saw that once or twice in this past game. And in fact, I've seen the previous Saquon that we all love dearly is that he hammered it in. I mean, that touchdown that he got in, that pushing down to the yards and just kind of turning around and backpedaling his way in. That's the Saquon. That's the openings we need for him to drive down to it. And Dan, some more of the bad kind of talking about, and this is the only other one that I got for the offense. And then we're going to move on to a little bit of the special teams because we've got a lot to talk about in defense. Is with the offense, is the tush push dead? I mean, if you look at it, they have not been successful on it. Are they doing it on purpose? So when it comes to voting again in the offseason, that they're going to be like, well, it was only effective 35% of the time this time and not 70%. The refs officiating it or calling false starts. Are they doing that on purpose? I mean, they're actually stopping Jalen a little bit more. Are they coming up and thinking like, listen, I'm going to run around the backside and pull Jalen so he can't get there? And I haven't seen a very productive tush push in a couple of games. I mean, it's like literally they did it 2 or 3 times on the drive and they got nowhere on it. And the refs called the false start twice on this where they got pushed back.
So let's say for the Eagles, the tush push might be dead, but watching football over the weekend, a lot of teams are running it now, and a lot of teams are running it effectively. So if you put it to a vote now, I think you'll have more people in favor because they're running it effectively. So who the hell knows? But yeah, you're right. The Eagles, it's concerning because you've never seen them like on a 3rd and 1 situation try anything other than the tush push. So is Sirianni's confidence high that if we get into a 4th and 1 or a 4th and half yard, that we're going to go for it and get that yard with the tush push? Because right now, it's not working. And
well, that also has to go on to the offensive line. I mean, we've been talking about them. They're a little banged up, not doing completely their job, but it's only this late in the season you can say that. But I think it's been all season that we've seen the tush push not be as effective as we all would like.
Right, and I think some of it has to do with maybe they have it in their heads that there's going to be a false start call or whatever, and they might be getting off the line a little bit late. I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell how. Yeah, the tush push is such a hard play to understand. Like, why didn't it work this time? Because it all looks the same. It all looks like, holy crap, it's just a scrum in there. But like you said, they're not getting the push on it. I don't understand why, but it might be dead. And if it is, it was a great run. And we got to figure something out for those short yardage situations, which I don't think that we'll have a problem with it. But, you know, it's interesting to see it, and I'm sure they're going to work on it. But, I mean, at this point, if you asked me in the beginning of the year and said, oh, well, they're going to banish the tush push, I would have been like, oh, this sucks. This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But if you ask me now that they're going to if they banish the tush push, I'll be like, okay, it's really not working that well for us anyway. So who the hell cares?
Yep. It's not as effective as it once was, but maybe they're not practicing it as much, thinking that it was a give me, and now they need to go back and practice a little bit more. Offensive line needs to step up. Who knows? But other teams are doing it, and I've already heard the commentators say, well, here's a different variation of the tush push, and they don't talk negative on it for other teams. They only do it for the Eagles. Dan, I'm going to switch gears real quick. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about special teams. We already did it for opening kickoff with Will Shipley, who he wasn't good this past game. We've kind of talked about that. In fact, the game beforehand, it's been a little chippy there. But, okay, Jake Elliott, he's missed, 4 out of the last 5?
He's missed field goals in 4 out of the last 5 games.
Now, thinking about this, right? And he missed 3 this game, technically 2, but it was a third because there was a little bit of timeouts and positioning and calling. But they were all to the far left. Do you think he would have tweaked it a little bit, or maybe he couldn't? I mean, what was the over-under for this for Vegas that he just missed all the field goals? It was kind of, he used to be a give me. Now it's very concerning. And in fact, we saw a number of times that Nick Sirianni went for it when we would have done a field goal.
Yeah, and if you remember, we kind of had the similar argument last year because Jake Elliott was, he missed all those 50-yarders in a row, and he just wasn't accurate. But then he comes in the playoffs, and he kicked, I think, 10 out of 11 field goals good last year in the playoffs. So, he gets that pass. But this year, he just has not been good. And I don't feel comfortable kicking field goals anymore, to be honest with you.
Not even close
I
ones.
don't care. Yeah, exactly. That one that he missed, the first one was a 43-yarder. So it's not like we're talking about, okay, he's attempting a 60-yarder here. I mean, the other 2 were long, but, NFL kickers are making 52 and 55-yarders consistently now. So if we don't have a kicker that can make those kicks routinely, it really starts causing problems because now you're going to be at the 40, 35-yard line facing a 4th and 7, let's say. More than likely you're going to go for it now because you're in a situation where if you go for the field goal and you miss it, you're giving the team the ball pretty much at where you're standing. So it's hard to see. He's a good guy. He's been so clutch in the past, and I really hope he gets his act together because we've seen so many times with kickers, even the elite ones, where they miss a few field goals and they get in their heads, and that can derail a career. I mean, we've seen it tons of times. Do I think he's mentally tough? Absolutely. But right now, he is just not an effective kicker, and there really are no other options for us if we were to say, okay, we're going to bring in some competition. The only kicker that I saw that's really a free agent that is Younghoe Koo, and I'm not replacing
Wait,
Jake
Justin
Elliott
Tucker.
for Younghoe Koo.
Justin Tucker is available since May.
Dude.
Hey, if Phillip Rivers could come back, come on.
We would have so many people just in an uproar if we got Justin Tucker. We would have, criminal lawsuits against us. It's not worth it.
Hey, we took Michael there. Come on now. We can do better.
Yeah, we took...
We seem to be the team, the franchise, that will take in strays. I'm sorry, that was... I just realized the comment.
Reclamation projects?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. In the arms of the angels.
I'm going to keep going on before
commercial.
somebody listens to this entirely and pulls that out
as
something negative. It was just a joke, people. Moving on from that. Okay, Dan, there's a couple of things I do want to talk about. Obviously, defense. We already talked about how horrible the special teams were. The other things that we need to kind of talk about is the playoff seeds and how the Eagles are doing. We got to talk about the fight. I mean, actually... Let's jump into the fight. Let's jump into the fight real quick because I think it was near the end of the third quarter that it happened or the start of the fourth.
It was the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, but when was it in the time of the game?
There
was no way.
Fourth, I think.
There was no way that the Commanders could come back, and we did a 2-point conversion. And Dan Quinn, it was really interesting, and I'm jumping off topic here a little bit. Dan Quinn was asked if the Eagles would he do that if he was on the other side of it, and he said no. But if that's the way they want to play, we play them again in 2 weeks. Shut up! They were testing out their 2-point conversion.
Yeah, well, if you would do it, you wouldn't. Well, the fact is that you can't because your team is so goddamn shitty that you can't do that. So if you're really going to look at the Eagles and say they're running up the score because they got 2 instead of 1, I mean, Jesus Christ,
Maybe there was
you're
a
so
mathematical
butthurt.
equation that they're like, oh, 2.5, points or scores ahead. If we do this, they're 3. There's no way. Then we can get in our third stringers, whatever, how they want to do it. But there was a fight that broke out. Very intense. I mean, Steen was in there.
Hell yeah.
He was, we've been giving Steen a little bit of a hard time during the season, but he was definitely in there. I actually saw a video clip of him coming into the tunnel, and there's Howie Roseman giving him a high five. Like, all right, man, you were ejected. Don't worry, I'll pay your bill.
That was the most defensive lineman I've seen him block all year long. He had about 6 guys around him.
Yeah, he
His
was. He was
helmet's
taking them
flying
all
off.
on.
Jesus Christ, he was a beast. You got Jalen Hurts in there like ripping Saquon back
Yep.
and everything. All the while Steen's in there talking shit. It was great. It's football.
Yep.
Come on, it's a divisional game. It's football.
There were 3 guys ejected, right? Didn't it?
Yeah,
they did 3
2
because
from Washington.
now that's because there were some punches thrown. And first of all, if you're going to throw a punch with a guy on a helmet, that's the dumbest thing because you're going to break a hand to be on it. But at least, and it was weird. One of the commanders had an Eagles helmet in his hand, and I'm like, oh shit, something better not happen with that helmet. He better not.
Who was that swung the helmet? He took off the guy's helmet and swung it on him.
I don't know. I don't even. He was probably ejected in that one. But yeah, 2 commanders, 1 Eagles ejected. And they say offsetting penalties. I'm thinking if you ejected 2 commanders as the other, I don't know how offsetting that was. It should have been. But either way, we got the 2 point.
Yeah, so here's my question to you is I've heard so many different theories on it, and I think that the whole mathematical equation thing, I personally can throw that out the window. I know that's what Sirianni said. I think that's bullshit. So what I'm saying to you is, do you think that was let's practice a 2-point play, or was it I don't even feel comfortable with our kicker making an extra point?
At that point of the game, with Jake missing 2, did the extra point matter, right?
No.
The extra point didn't matter. So it ended up, 29-18. And having that extra point, so let's take 2 off of it, 27-18, 9 away, still a, 2-scoring game. I think at that point, maybe Jake was in his head and he said, listen, just, you know what? Just go for the 2. Or Nick was like, you know what? I'm not comfortable with it. We're going to go there. He was asked that during his press conference on why you went for the 2, if he was comfortable with Jake making it. And he has every ability and, faith in Jake doing his stuff. But at the same time, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a division game.
It was just a weird situation.
If it was against Dallas, I would have went
time-
for 2 as well, but just because it's Dallas.
I would have went for 2 every single down.
Hell yeah. I don't care if Jake missed it. I would have been like, screw you.
Yeah, and you got to, at that time, they were up before the 2-point conversion. It was, 20, what they finished with 29, so it would have been 27-11.
Yep.
Because Washington scored their last touchdown, and we had people out there on the field that I don't even know who the hell they were. I haven't seen these players since friggin' training camp, so you really can't count that last one. But
That was garbage time.
yeah, it was garbage time. It was basically what it was is don't get injured time.
Yep.
So you pull out your starters and you play everybody that basically hasn't seen the field all year, which is fine. I don't know. If they ran an intricate play for the 2-pointer, I would say, yeah, they're trying something out. They didn't. They ran an inside run. So, to me, that is a problem because he's got to start feeling uneasy about taking points with Jake Elliott. He can say that he's supporting him, and that's what a coach is supposed to say, but to me, it's concerning because if your kicker is missing that much, your philosophy and your situational awareness is going to switch a little bit. And
maybe they tried running a intricative play and the defense didn't line up the way that they wanted, so he audible. I don't know, but to be honest with you,
Yeah.
he could be concerned, or maybe Jake Elliott was injured or a bruised toe. Who knows? There's more information that we don't know. Bruised ego, bruised,
Yeah, that's about it.
So anyway, Dan, I'm going to switch because we're going to be running out of time. We didn't get to the defense. Holy shit, is the Philadelphia Eagles defense, in my mind, number one. I mean, they are playing lights out. Now, granted, they did let a couple of runs and a couple of scores, but they are playing phenomenal in the last couple of games, actually the last couple of weeks. Even though they lost a couple of those, I mean, this is freaking awesome. Not many sacks, but the pressure was there. Byron Young had some. And holy crap, did BG hit the fountain of youth?
Yeah, I mean, he is right now. I mean, he's been lining up as defensive tackle in a lot of the plays because Jalen Carter is out. And when Carter comes back, I'm still lining him up at defensive tackle because he is just tearing people up. Even when he's not getting the quarterback, he's applying pressure. And he is our most effective pass rusher right now. It's crazy. He looks like the Brandon Graham of old, and it's really good to see because we need that kind of defensive presence. It was when he came back, I was thinking more of a locker room presence, type of guy. Maybe he'll get a few pressures, but he's really playing well, especially for a guy that was pretty much just playing with his kids, for most of the season. So really impressive. The defense as a whole, I agree with you. I mean, I think that they're number one against the pass. I don't think you're passing much on any of these guys. I mean, Dory Jackson, he had that long one to Terry McLaurin, but he was pretty spot on, Terry McLaurin. So I really can't fault him for being in a bad position. It's just Terry McLaurin's a great receiver. So, I mean, our defense is really elite. And with the cast of characters that they have, as opposed to what they had last year, it is so impressive. Vic Fangio is doing a fantastic job. It seems like everything he touches goes to gold. And that is the thing that is going to give us hope that the Eagles can make another Super Bowl run, is because our defense is just, it's stopping everybody and it's giving us opportunities to win the game. Jalen Phillips has been a little quiet the last few games, but he's still consistent. He's still a good guy to have off the edge.
You see him over there, but just like Zach Bond, while you don't hear his name being played often, they are definitely making an impact on the field.
Yeah, well, definitely, because I think you're seeing him eat up some double teams too.
Yep.
So it's freeing up guys. You want to talk about the defense. Holy shit, Jordan Davis. My God. He has played so much better this year. And it is really good to see him he was taking double teams and just destroying them. Not yesterday, but Saturday. So, the defense is playing at a very high level. And, I mean, you're wearing your Quinyon jacket. I mean, there's nothing like it's when you think about the good and the bad of this defense, you kind of lose track of Quinyon Mitchell because nobody dares throw.
I think he got 2 targets.
Against him.
He got they threw 2 times to him. He saw some action, and I feel bad for the guy because how is he supposed to get in his playing time when nobody throws anything at him? He's like, man, I haven't seen a ball. Oh, is that what a ball looks like? And the moment it was there, he's like, get out of here, man.
Yeah, I mean, there were seasons where Darrelle Revis was his best corner in the league by far, and he'd get like 1 interception, 0 interceptions, and everybody's like, he's a great player, but he's not a playmaker. He's not a playmaker because nobody's throwing the ball.
Yep.
You only have the opportunities presented to you, which is like 0. And we've got a lockdown corner out there that just, you don't have to worry about that side of the field or that number 1 receiver. So you're going up against these more established playoff teams coming, and again, you don't have to worry about that 1 receiver because there's no way in hell that they're getting catches over Quinyon Mitchell. And Quinyon Mitchell's worst day out there is like allowing 3 catches for 30 yards. It's just crazy. He hasn't let up a touchdown all year.
Nope.
You know, his man coverage is great. His zone coverage is great. I can't find anything negative to say about the guy. And his defense is just, as a whole, fantastic. You've seen a shift, and I don't think it's coincidental. I think when Nakobe went out for that one game, the defense looked like horse shit against the pass. And I said, my God, I hope that Sidney Brown just gets injured or something because he's so bad back there. And Epps has come in, and you don't hear anything about the safeties anymore. Nope. And that's a good thing. You don't want to hear the safeties called. So their defense is just really consistent, really good, elite unit. I know they're not ranked in the most elite of units, but I think that's because they had such a slow start at the beginning of the year, maybe. You know, they were letting up a lot of yards, necessarily not points. But this is a unit that is really taking it to teams. And it's not just like, it's not like the offense where we could say, oh, they only play the Raiders, they only played the Commanders. We shut down Green Bay. We shut down Detroit. We, other than a half of football, we shut down Dallas. You know, we've gone through the NFC gauntlet, and each time we've shut down the other team. So this defense is really what's going to carry us. And if we can somehow get back to that killer running game, or a better running game like we did in this game, then the Eagles are going to be a very tough out.
You were talking about Jordan Davis, who's a freaking beast, and seeing him out there and stuffing the line, getting past it, and just his physicality and everything that he puts into it. And he's just having so much fun onto the field that it's unbelievable, and it's very contagious with BG out there bringing just his energy, his high energy, and the sacks on everything. The other thing is Cooper DeJean, another interception. And it was awesome to hear the crowd calling out his name down at FedEx Field, which is like another home game to the Eagles. It was totally unbelievable.
Yeah, Coop is just, I mean, it goes along the lines of Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, but they throw at Cooper DeJean for some ungodly reason. But, I mean, the guy just
hidden in
plays.
there. He's like the only white boy hidden. He's like, you can't see me.
Exciting whites, yeah.
Yes.
It's just, there's... Cooper DeJean, I mean, they really killed that draft when they picked him in the second round and they got Quinyon in the first round. I mean, they have 2 lockdown corners for years. I mean, hopefully the next 10 to 15 years. But yeah, Quinyon, Cooper DeJean seems to be getting the interceptions, and they're becoming more frequent, which is great. It doesn't seem to coincide with our Pro Bowl voting, but the Pro Bowl
not a single Eagles player, and that's why I'm wearing Quinyon pullovers, because listen, he's not getting an interception, they're not throwing to him, but he's locking them down. I mean, no Jordan Davis, no one on the Eagles team, which is a smack in the face completely.
The Pro Bowl voting has become a joke, because you see players that get in the Pro Bowl, yet they've only played partial seasons.
It's a celebrity contest anymore.
Well, yeah, you're probably going to see Mahomes in the Pro Bowl. I mean, he's not going to play
on crutches or a little wheelchair.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just, and you know what? To all the fans who voted for the Pro Bowl and didn't vote the Eagles, and to the whoever else votes for the Pro Bowl, you could take the votes and you can shove them up your ass, because we don't need those votes. We don't need to play in the Pro Bowl, because we're going to be playing in February in a game called the Super Bowl.
I've never heard of that. Dan, is there any concerns about Nakobe Dean and not being available, because he just came back, high impacted player? We were talking about we should have locked him up and everything like that. He was injured during this game. I think it was like the second quarter or something, but we still very productive on it. I miss him out there. Is there any concerns?
And it's the same story. It's so unfortunate, because every time he's in the game, we say, oh, Nakobe Dean is a really solid player. but he just can't stay healthy. No matter what it is, he just can't stay healthy. And is it concerning? Absolutely, because their rush defense is a lot better with him in there. I mean, it's statistically just crazy what it is for and against him being in there. So it is troublesome. And you heard Jordan Davis after the game. He said that, Nakobe's going to be fine. He just tweaked it a little bit, which is fine. But I propose this. I don't play him against Buffalo. I do not. I don't care if he's healthy. Same thing with Lane Johnson and same thing with Jalen Carter. I understand that you're playing to win the game, but I do not play them for the simple fact that our seeding, which we can talk about, is going to be well established, close to being established. I think health goes over trying to bring them back early to win a game. It's just me.
Dan, speaking of seeding, it looks like the Eagles are going to lock in the number 3 seed. There is a very, 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 very multiples 10 outside chance of actually getting number 2. But if you're not going to get number 1, do they really kind of try to get into number 2 with the hopes of playing all these players who are starters with a potential for injury? My thought, and this is going to be a discussion for you and I, is do we start to just sit players? They're playing Buffalo, right? They're playing Washington the last 2 games of the season, and then they're heading into the playoffs. They're already guaranteed 1 home playoff, which last year I think they were guaranteed 1 as well, and they ended up playing
they were number 2 seed.
Yeah, and they ended up playing all 3 at home, which could happen in a way that they're going. Dan, for going into the rest of the season, they've already locked things in. Number 3. Do you start to rest players now, or do you play them a little bit and then rest them? Because these games, in our opinion, or even at least my opinion, don't really matter in the long run, and maybe get some healthier ones like Dickerson and Nakobe.
So the players that are injured right now that aren't playing, that are coming back, like I said, the Jalen Carters, the Lane Johnsons, maybe even Nakobe, I don't play them. I do not play them. I don't care about rust. I'm prioritizing health, and I have confidence that these guys can come back and make an impact. The starters now, our offense has not been consistent. I know it's becoming more consistent, but our offense has not been consistent enough for me to say, I think we should rest our starters somehow against Buffalo. I think they should go out there and they should play to win. I understand that the seeding might be locked up. They might be set in the 3 seed. It's not the last week of the season, so I'm playing to win against Buffalo regardless. Washington, no. And I'll tell you, it's not just because Washington, they won't have a seeding there. Dan Quinn's comments remind me of old school comments like Greg Williams used to make, in which we're going to retaliate somehow. I don't need my starters going out there and taking low shots to the knees or just taking subtle jabs that can injure a player just because Washington is butthurt that they got a 2-point conversion and a game hung up on them. So I don't play them against Washington. I mean, the difference between the 2 and the 3 seed, they would need Chicago to lose out, which is possible because Chicago has a hard schedule. But the difference there is that if you win in the first round and you're a 2 seed, you get a home game in the second round. If you win in the 3rd seed, you're pretty much guaranteed that you're not going to get a home. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe you're guaranteed to not get a home game in the second round. Championship round, who knows? I would rest the starters last week. I would play them to Buffalo, but not bring anybody back from injury.
I agree with you for Buffalo and going in there, and I think they should. I think it's a good game for the offense to start clicking. I don't think they should rest anybody, at least for the Buffalo game, because of the rust factor. And that if you're starting to click now and you're starting to move now, then you should be in there. Let Nakobe heal. It's fine. In fact, if he's all right and he's healing for Buffalo, And you go to the Washington game, don't even put them in because you're not going to put in half the starters. I agree that I think after Dan Quinn's comments that there might be some type of bounty gate happening where he's like, you know what, you just put the hurt to them, and I'll give you some pizza on the side. However they want to do it, I just don't think it's worth the risk that's going to be happening with the game. Dan, before I wrap things up, we got to talk about predictions here against Buffalo. And this was actually very challenging for me because we're both saying that we should play the starters, and we're not sure what their plans are just yet, if it's going to be 1 quarter or 2 quarter. Now, Buffalo has to play. Buffalo, the AFC is very, very tight right now. So we're going to do our predictions, and I went first last week. So, Dan, you need to go first this week.
So I'm going to base my prediction off them playing to win and them playing all 4 quarters because I think that's what's going to happen in this game. It's going to be a very difficult game because Buffalo really excels in running the ball, but they don't really have a downfield weapon, so I think you're going to see Buffalo become a little bit one-dimensional in this. Josh Allen's legs might be the equalizer, but I think when I look at this, I think our defense is better than the Buffalo defense. And I think our defense is better than the Buffalo offense. So I'm going to give
Wait.
the edge.
Before you say your answer, I'm going to throw a little thing in there. The concern that I always have is that Buffalo always plays down and somehow comes back with like 30 or 40 points in the fourth quarter, which is always a concern. But they are playing, in my opinion, a number one defense. Yes, the Eagles, they have been playing phenomenal the last couple of weeks. But go ahead, Dan.
I think, and I'm trying not to be a homer. I really am. I think it's going to be, I'm going to give the edge to the Eagles. I'm going to give them 28-24.
All right. So you're doing a 1-possession game. I am thinking that the Eagles, wait, let me put your 28-24 birds. Okay. So I put it in there, and I think here's what's going to happen. I think this is a game that the Eagles right the ship for offense. We start to get a little more productive on the rush. Whether they change it up, Sirianni says the play calling has been so much better in the last couple of games since he's kind of taken over, and Nick was never really a good play caller, so there's obviously 2 people in this possession. Maybe they got an outside consultant, who knows? But just going off of it, I think it's going to be 35-24, the Eagles.
I would love for it to be that.
I don't think, first of all, I don't want to sound like a homer either, but I don't think it's going to be I don't want it to be a close game. I don't want it to be a nail biter. I mean, granted, it's not a requirement to win, but it's still, I want them to win.
So either way, 28 points or 35, I think is a really good offensive showing against a competitive team for Buffalo. And I think it gives you a lot more confidence going into next week, well, the following week against the Redskins, Commanders, Washington football team, whatever, and to say that we're going to sit the starters because our offense is starting to look more consistent. So either way, I think it would be a great victory. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, but if they win 30-24 against a team that's really scrapping for the division, scrapping for the playoffs, then that would be fantastic.
Exactly. All right, everybody, before we wrap things up, I'm going to give you my 2 cents and pass it off to Dan. This last game against the Washington Redskins Commanders was great to see the Eagles offense finally start to clicking game after game. Holy shit to the defense and what they are doing. Vic Fangio, you've got my vote for MVP, however you want to do it, because you are just doing a phenomenal job with a decimated defense at the start of the season, which we were concerned about. Are we concerned about special teams and Jake Elliott? Well, after this game, slightly concerned about it. But going into the next, we're hoping he rights the ship and he comes out and nails. Oh, well, we're in Buffalo, and it's a little windy there. So we'll just say, how about a 51-yarder would be freaking great?
Yeah, I agree with you. Our defense has been solid. Our defense is growing. They're getting better every single week. Our offense is, we've finally seen, let's say, 8 quarters of consistent football. It isn't those, okay, we played a half really well, and then in the second half we pass for 2 yards. We're not seeing that anymore. So we're seeing much more consistency, the route concepts. The offense is finally starting to click. And we're going to find out on Sunday, 4 o'clock, whether or not that's fool's gold, and the fact that you played the Raiders and Washington. So I think it's going to be good. I don't believe it's fool's gold because I'm seeing things in there that are different in terms of route concepts, mesh routes, not just, hitch routes and the other crap that comes with it. So I think you're going to see a solid game. I'm proud that they won the division, but at the same time, as every Eagles fan that's been spoiled in this generation, I want more.
I'm glad they won the division. I'm glad the Cowboys are going home to Cancun a little bit early and have an early season. Everybody, this has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri. Go Birds!
Go Birds!